The story starts in the small town of Dusk. The main character, or the intruder as he is referred to, lives peacefully with his wife. They know nothing of the brewing cult that's slowly taking over the town. Someone, after collecting members for this cult, summons Nyarlathotep, who is a deity from the Cthulhu mythos and said to be one of the outer gods. The deity gives them quake powers, said to increase strength and speed and resilience. With the help of their new powers, the cult killed and recruited everyone in Dusk. The intruder, just coming home from treasure hunting, was jumped by cultists and strung up on meat hooks and left to die in the basement of a cabin deep in the woods. Nyarlathotep senses great power from the intruder and gives him quake powers as well. Nyarlathotep then gives orders to the one who summoned him to guide the intruder to ensure he can complete his test. Waking up in the basement, the intruder grabs 2 meat sickles and gets to work. This is the start of Episode 1, The Foothills. The intruder fights his way out of the basement he was left to die in, with the assistance of his newfound quake powers and the guns he finds along the way. The cultists are no match. With nowhere else to go but the town of Dusk, the intruder begins making his way there. On his way into town, he encounters a farm overrun. He fights his way through leathernecks, black phillips, mages, and possessed scarecrows. Finding the key to the shed, he escapes through a tunnel that puts him near a chapel and a graveyard run by the cultists. He finds that under the chapel is a tunnel system, where he finds and destroys the Intoxicator. This angers the cult leader and causes him to lose his temper, which upsets Nyarlathotep.
My pet. You'll pay for that.
The intruder leaves the cavern behind to head into the sewer system. The sewers have been overrun by the cultists that keep it running. The intruder fights his way through until he locates a utility exit. He leaves the sewers, ending up in an abandoned mining town overtaken by cultists. With the buildings and homes destroyed, the intruder looks to enter the mines, but the way is locked. After finding the key, he proceeds forward into the mines. This mine was locked because of flooding, but regardless, the intruder fights his way through the cramped corridors to find the other exit. Upon leaving the mines, the intruder is on the outskirts of town at a ranch the cultists have set up camp in. Under the camp is another small encampment with more cultists. After obliterating everything in his way, he went underground to face the Duke brothers. The intruder decimates them and leaves the underground bunker. This once again displeases the cult leader.
They were unworthy.
On the other side of the bunker is a shortcut leading to the town of Dusk. The town is surrounded by giant concrete walls and a giant metal gate that is heavily guarded by the military. It seems that at some point the military was made aware of the cultists taking over the town of Dusk. However, they didn't stand a chance against the cultists. In a last-ditch effort, the remaining military closes the gate to Dusk, hoping to stop the invasion. During all this, many soldiers are killed or possessed and join the cultists. The intruder kills the guards at the gate and enters the town of Dusk through a secret entrance. The town of Dusk was once a densely populated area with many amenities such as gas stations, hotels, and restaurants. The town is now empty and void of all human life. Cultists keep watch over the town looking for any survivors. The intruder single-handedly cuts through the cult's forces that were left in the town and discovers a service elevator that leads deeper into Dusk. With no other options, the intruder rides down. Deep beneath Dusk is a secret research facility. Its origins have been lost, but is now used to create new cultists.
Are you prepared for what's next?
The scientists working there have created Experiment 1 and 2. The intruder kills the scientists and their experiments, but learns this ordeal is far from over. Too deep into the facility to turn back, the intruder leaves Dusk through the service tunnels.
This is only the beginning.
The meat hook wounds in your back still throb as you make your way down the cold, black, and bloody hallways that once held those monstrous creations. You leave the ruined town of Dusk behind, littered with the corpses of the possessed, hoping never to return. In the distance stand imposing silhouettes of what appear to be military facilities. But why? A dark voice pushes you forward. Do you truly seek answers, or is it simply too late to turn back? Episode 2, The Facilities. Leaving the service tunnels puts the intruder at the granary, which is a large facility that processes grain and other deadly toxins. All the workers have been converted to cultists. The intruder clears out the facility and discovers it runs deeper underground, so he begins to journey deeper into the earth. Underneath the granary is the electrical system and framework that powers it and other facilities. The scientists have been cooking up new creatures and released the Wendigos that live underground. The intruder makes his way through the dark and escapes the complex. Near the granary is the Thresher, a giant building used to scrap and slice things apart. All of the dead bodies have been collected and thrown in. They go through a pipeline and further into the ground into the infernal machine. The military is now being controlled by the cult.
Sacrifice.
Determined to see this through, the intruder rides down the pipe into the infernal machine. The infernal machine is a blood-soaked slaughterhouse, controlled by the cultists. Large industrial saw blades dice the bodies that pass through and make up the walls and floors of the machine. The infernal machine runs on the blood of the bodies it's chopped up. This device grants god energy to the cultists.
Why follow when you can lead?
The intruder survives and is able to locate an exit. Prior to the takeover, the Escher Labs was a standard research facility that has been converted into a creature lab like the one under Dusk. The scientists have been turned mad, and with Nyarlathotep's power are able to begin creating new creatures and experiments. The labs are being powered by the Erebus reactor. The intruder arrives and begins fighting his way through. As the mad scientists begin making more creatures, they start overloading the Erebus reactor and make it explode, unleashing lethal levels of energy that begin to affect the world. The laws of physics begin to bend and shift, and the fabric of reality starts to become distorted. Mama is created because of this disturbance, and the intruder is able to defeat her. With nowhere left to go due to the world being destroyed, the intruder breaks into the Erebus reactor. The Erebus reactor begins to break down and become unstable. The Earth slowly begins to break apart and shift as it begins creating new objects out of thin air. Since it is far too late to repair the reactor, the intruder overcharges it and destroys it, effectively shutting down the reality warping powers. The Erebus reactor is connected to the Skylab via a launch pad that is guarded by Big John, who seems to be aware of his possession but is unable to break free. The intruder puts him out of his misery and goes towards the sky. The Skylab is a floating fortress that absorbs the energy of the Erebus reactor. Outside of the Skylab is heavily protected by the cultists. Because the only way to break through the Earth is via a large pipe that runs from the Skylab, the intruder breaks in and makes his way to the lower levels. Inside the Skylabs are the gears and motors that keep the Skylab floating, along with several cultists protecting it. The energy being channeled by the Erebus reactor is being fed into a device that is sending a green electrical signal and runs through the altars and then through a pipe that leads into the Earth.
With his sparks, we take from men that which has never been taken before.
The intruder follows the green energy and takes a leap of faith down and lands into the dig. The Nameless City is where Nyarlathotep resided before coming to Dusk. The portal leading to the city has been caved in and blocked off by the Guardian, whose job it is to guard the portal. The cult leader tasks the cultists to begin digging through and locating the portal to allow the cultists access to the Nameless City. The intruder ambushes them and follows the excavation that eventually leads him to the entrance to the gauntlet that is protected by the son of the Intoxicator and the twins. The intruder dispatches them and enters the arena. The Gauntlet is a small arena that houses a portal that leads to the Nameless City. The Guardian has been tasked with protecting the portal against anyone coming in or out. The intruder fights the Guardian and is able to power up the portal, opening up a gateway to the Nameless City.
Most impressive.
With the Guardian defeated, the intruder jumps through the portal into the Nameless City. As you step into the unholy portal powered by ungodly means, there is no doubt what you must do. Hubris and fanaticism have woken something powerful, horrible beyond anything you can imagine. You must uncover the truth. Who knows what nightmares await you in the Nameless City. Episode 3, The Nameless City. The Nameless City is a dark dimension with nightmarish creatures and minions that serve Nyarlathotep. Several floating islands make up the majority of the Nameless City, each one disconnected from each other. The Iron Cathedral makes up the island that houses the portal. The intruder fights his way through the area, killing the minions and proceeding further into the cathedral. Past the Iron Cathedral and leading deeper into the core of the island, the middle is all rock, the bottom has lava and fire, and the top has ice and snow. Breaking through the top layer is the ruins of an old cathedral that has been destroyed. The intruder unlocks the door that leads out of the Iron Cathedral and leads towards the residence of the minions. The City of Shadows is the resting place of the minions. This small village has several buildings, a church, and a well with an infinite water source. Inside the well is Chomper and his sons. The intruder wipes out the town and disposes of Chomper and his kin. In order to escape, the intruder floods the town and is able to reach the crypts.
Embrace the darkness.
The crypts are where the rest of the inhuman minions reside that are born of blood and bone. All horrors and evil live here and wait until instructed to leave. The intruder invades the crypt and makes his way through, killing the minions and finding a staircase that allows him to leave the crypts. The staircase leads to an isolated island that is completely barren except for a single church at the center. The church houses the Tomb of Flesh, a giant pile of meat. The intruder completes the trials that grant him access to the church and destroys the Tomb of Flesh, releasing a stench that summons a tornado that obliterates the church and reveals a secret underground complex. The underground complex has a colorful spiral staircase and houses a red portal. After killing the cultists that reside underneath, the intruder goes through the portal. The red portal leads to an alternate dimension of Earth that has been destroyed by an apocalypse. The town of Dusk is now burnt to a crisp and covered in brimstone. The sky is scorched, and the cultists and minions have been let loose. The intruder is in an unknown location and needs to find a way back. After clearing the city streets, going through the subway, he locates a blue portal. With nowhere left to go, the intruder enters the portal.
Welcome home.
The blue portal was a trap placed by Nyarlathotep to gain access to the intruder's memories. Nyarlathotep takes the intruder back to his home and forces him to relive the memories of losing his wife to an unknown incident. Nyarlathotep deems the intruder to be worthy and decides it is time for his ultimate final test. But first he must reverse the events that have unfolded as a final task.
Welcome back.
The following sequence of events is reversed. It begins with the intruder starting off in the nameless city, and from there he backtracks, encountering locations he has visited before. The intruder makes his way through the nameless city, the facilities, and through the foothills, before arriving back at the basement where he was reborn. In order to complete the circle, the intruder must impale himself on the meat hooks. Upon impaling himself, Nyarlathotep determines that the intruder is ready for the final challenge.
Show us that you are worthy.
Nyarlathotep has tasked the cult leader with creating a test for the intruder to prove his worth. The intruder enters the arena and faces off against waves and waves of cultists and minions. Upon surviving, the intruder must fight the creations and finally the Watchers of the Gate. Having completed his test, it is time for the final challenge. Nyarlathotep grants the intruder access to the center of Dusk.
Excellent. Then come to us.
Upon arriving, the intruder must locate 3 gems to power a portal, where he must face his final challenge, Jacob, who is revealed to be the cult leader. Upon entering the portal, Jacob and the intruder engage in combat.
At last. You finally arrived. You shall be my final test.
Both are equally matched, but the intruder begins to win. Nyarlathotep deems Jacob unworthy and turns the cultists on him.
No, you can't betray me. My disciples!
With Jacob dead and his test completed, the intruder begins to ascend and leave Dusk.
He was worthy, you know, and he accomplished so much. But then, you came along. You who were stronger. You who were faster. You I like better. Who did you expect at the end of all of this? God? The devil, perhaps? No. It's just me. Enough! You are indeed worthy. And so now, my power is yours. How does it feel? Horrible, isn't it? Wonderful, yes. Who you were before is insignificant. Who you are now is inconceivable. But here you shall remain, till I have need of you again. For one must always reign